beginning. When we sent out our invitation for the webinars, we also had a survey, and people responded to that survey, and I would like to share what the results were from that survey. What did we ask in that survey? We asked about communication with the audience of the people who are working in the book exhibition context. If they were still communicating with their audiences during this COVID crisis. And as you can see, the most of them they did. And the most popular, they did it in different ways on social networks, articles, on the web pages of the institutions, online exhibition tours, digital exhibitions, and online education materials. The most popular way of communicating was the social network that was used. It was the most successful strategy. Why? It's also quite obvious. People are reacting in that social network thing, social media. They got positive responses, comments, likes, shares, and they could see in the statistics that they were frequently visited, and also the number of virtual visitors increased on the websites. About communication, next to that, we also asked some questions about changes if they were made during the COVID crisis in the existing exhibition, and also if there were plans to change for the future exhibitions. Also there, the answers were mostly yes. In the existing exhibitions, things were changing, as in putting disinfection in the exhibition, and to remove a lot of things, screens, headphones, tangible items, so that the touching thing, interactive thing wasn't there anymore. Also, less people could enter exhibitions. They had to reserve their time slot and things like that. And the question for the future exhibitions, there we also received a positive the yes response, and there the answers that were given was yes, we are changing things in rethinking the design of our exhibitions with the pandemics in mind, redesign the exhibitions for less visitors, to how to use the space of our exhibition rooms and spaces, but for the content, that was quite not surprising, but the content isn't changing. It's mostly the space and the changes of the design of the exhibitions. Book exhibitions and well-being, we also asked the question there. Do book exhibitions contribute to health and well-being? I already said some words about it, and there the answer was definitely yes. The question is in which way, and there we have different answers related to the topic itself. So the pandemics as a topic in the exhibitions, and also as a positive experience, the fact that people can visit exhibitions or museums are positive thing to mental health, as in sharing knowledge to escape relaxation, experiencing beauty, and as an inspiring and stimulating thing. So to keep positive also if we have a stressful thing going on like a COVID crisis. Inga, up to you now.
Thank you. So after summarizing our survey, we wanted to look, how do we look in the general context? Are we on the same page with our colleagues in museums? And we have to say yes. If we look at the common tendencies as reaction to the COVID-19 experience, as we can see them in discussions organized by the leading museum organizations NEMO and ICOM this year, we can see that just as book exhibitions and galleries and libraries, also museums have started producing more of digital content. They have also started focusing more on local development, local communities, also local or their own collections, which is mainly because of the travel restrictions, and this kind of answers and changes also appeared in our surveys of our colleagues responding that they had to cancel loans from abroad. We've become more worried or more involved in thinking about sustainability issues. And what we all see, the museums profession is being redefined at those days. We are all learning new skills, and we are realizing how difficult it is actually to reach out to the different segments of our audiences, and our efforts in keeping this communication alive are stronger. And the same as museums, we all feel that there is a need to manifest, to make work the potential of museums and galleries and libraries in the field of social impact, well-being, and health. We are all asking the question, what society needs that museums or libraries or archives can provide. This is very short run through the survey and common tendencies. Thank you, and you're welcome to ask questions if you have such.
Hello everybody, it's the morning here in the UK, and as Diana said, I'm work at the British Library. I'm the exhibitions manager, and I manage all of our temporary exhibition spaces and our touring exhibition programme. We are currently open. We reopened following a 4-month closure at the end of July, and we've had a phased reopening. And I'm really pleased to say that last week we finally opened our major spring exhibition, delayed by 6 months, but we finally opened on Friday, and we're taking it week by week, because I think, like many countries in the world, we're on a bit of a cliffhanger at the moment, not quite knowing what way the UK is going to go. Our case numbers are rising rapidly, and lockdown is mentioned around 100 times a day. So we're just going with the flow as best we can and remaining as flexible as possible, which I'm sure is the same for everybody at the moment. So during lockdown, we had a lot of time to think and plan for when we were able to eventually reopen. And it was a chance to take a look at sort of our aims as an organisation. Quite rightly, we wanted to provide our staff with a safe and reassuring environment. In order to have people come back into the building, we needed to make sure that first and foremost our staff areas were safe, and that we had the correct COVID measures in place. And then of course this would then translate into our visitor areas, and again providing them with a safe and reassuring environment. We wanted to maintain our offer, but also look at whether or not we could enhance our visitor experience. What could be improved? Could one-way routes actually provide a more interesting visit? And like everybody, it was looking at our online offer. What could we provide online? And a lot of work has gone into moving our events online, virtual private views and virtual tours. So the things we had to consider prior to reopening was ensuring our online booking system could handle well, the need for everybody to book a time slot to come into the library. You know, visitors and readers would normally just be able to walk straight into the main building and sort of, you know, make their own day out, if you like, whether it was to go and meet a friend in the cafe, go to our permanent gallery, or go and do some research. And obviously we had to make a big change, because we would have to limit capacity from a few thousand a day to maybe a couple of hundred a day. And we had, you know, because staff were gradually coming back, we had very limited capacity. And we also had to think about our communications and marketing, and we spent a lot of time doing risk assessments of staff areas and public spaces. We had to think about our gallery experience. We spent a lot of time thinking about one-way routes, firstly around the building, you know, for visitors to sort of make their way to the cloakroom and then up to the reading rooms, establishing a clear one-way route. We had to think a lot about signage, and we wanted to make sure that there was consistency. So we wanted the signage to be the same in staff areas and public areas to avoid confusion. And we also had to think about cleaning. and especially those high frequency areas. We wanted people to feel reassured that there was lots of additional cleaning and making sure that there was plenty of hand sanitizer around the spaces. And then something that came into place in the UK in late July was the wearing of face coverings. So this became mandatory on all public transport and when in shops and supermarkets. And then as the summer went on, it extended to all public buildings, all indoor enclosed spaces. So that was something we had to make sure that we updated all of our signage with. And one of the other things, and this is where we're probably quite different to other organisations, we made the decision to remove all interactives. So in our permanent treasures gallery and in our temporary exhibition galleries, we made the decision to remove participation areas, touch screens and headphones. But we're aware and always thinking about it, we do need to be ready to adapt and, you know, take the time to look at what other museums and galleries in London and across England are doing. So here are some examples of our exhibition signage. We made the decision to have some clear signage prior to entry to the exhibition galleries, reminding people that they need to have a pre-booked ticket, reminding people of a one-way system in place, asking them to follow the signs, reminding people to keep a safe distance and to wear a face covering. And then when inside the exhibition gallery, we wanted to keep the COVID signage simple and quite minimal, because we're aware that visitors actually, they're coming to exhibitions and museums, libraries and galleries to escape what's going on in the world, to escape COVID. And they want to enjoy a cultural experience, and I think maybe that's more important than ever. We want that bit of escapism, we want some time out, and we want to immerse ourselves in a new subject, a new theme. So we decided to go with floor stickers, some directional arrows, and then just that reminder, gentle reminder to keep a safe distance. So then we had to move on to our sort of up and coming temporary exhibitions, taking a look at the design and layout for those exhibitions. So we have to think, what is the direction of travel for visitors and how is this shown and mapped out? Are the entry and exit points clearly marked out and signposted? So some of the things we've had to do is reverse entry and exit points for exhibitions. Look at the use of our exhibition lobby, because from the exhibition lobby we do have 3 exhibition spaces that come out of that lobby. So it's thinking about people crossing paths, thinking about how we're going to control and manage people entering and exiting the spaces. We have to think about accessibility. Are there any pinch points? Can social distancing be maintained? We want our visitors to feel comfortable, and so we made the decision to remove any unnecessary obstacles and to think about seating. So in our permanent treasures gallery, we made the decision to remove seating, and we, in our small exhibition gallery, also made the decision to remove seating because the dwell time would be around 30 to 45 minutes. But in our large temporary exhibition space, we have kept seating because the dwell time has been up to 2 hours. So it's just thinking about the comfort of our visitors and then using the signage to remind people to be safe. Is the exhibition display still an enriching experience for visitors? Is signage appropriate, and do we have adequate lighting? So for our temporary exhibition for unfinished business, which you can see the floor plan there on the right, the design was almost made for COVID. It was already really spacious. So the main changes we've had to make have been removing the interactive elements. You know, we did have a large audience participation area where we wanted people to respond to the subject of women's rights and write notes and leave up post-its and engage with each other, but obviously that would have meant a lot of touch points, sharing of pens and pencils. So we've removed that element and a lot of that activity has moved online. We've done thorough risk assessments of the space, and we've done this with our head of security and our head of health and safety, just to ensure that we've picked up all that we can and that we've mitigated any potential problems. In terms of monitoring of the space, we have capacity control, so our visitor services teams and security teams are limiting, keeping an eye on the number of people in the galleries, looking at dwell times, and where needed we can then adjust the number of tickets on sale for each slot. We've increased cleaning, and as we said in the previous sort of signage slide, we are ensuring that people are wearing masks and remembering to social distance. So this is our PACAR 1 floor plan, which you saw on the previous slide for our unfinished business exhibition. A slightly busier space, it's around 400 square metres. So the one-way route on plan looks quite complicated, but I can assure you that once in the gallery, the floor stickers and signage really keep the route quite straightforward, and it is a spacious gallery with a very high ceiling. So visitors do have a lot of room to roam about and enjoy the exhibition. The space on the right is our PACAR 2 exhibition space, which is around 116 square metres. We opened our Hebrew manuscripts exhibition at the beginning of September. Luckily, this exhibition space is quite small with really good sight lines. We have limited capacity to no more than 10 people in each half-an-hour slot. But the exhibition has a really clear narrative, so it's made social distancing and the one-way route work really well. And then this is our permanent treasures gallery. So for this exhibition space, we created a one-way route, which has actually given visitors more of a curated route around the exhibition, which has been a real benefit. And we've made sure that our iconic Magna Carta has centre stage in that gallery. It's in the middle of the space, so it's something for people to work their way to, and a moment within the space. So visitor experience and feedback has actually been positive. Visitors have been really happy with the one-way routes. They're enjoying having the opportunity to come back to the library and see the exhibitions. And they've found signage to be clear and concise, and it doesn't intrude on the exhibition experience. There has been an understanding about reduced seating and the lack of interactive. Dwell time within our smaller exhibition spaces has reduced and has enabled visitors to navigate the exhibition more easily. With our large exhibition that opened last week, crowding became a slight issue at the weekend, and people didn't seem to want to hold back and wait. In terms of waiting for their slot or being held back 15 minutes. So we've now had to look at the number of tickets we have on sale at the weekends. And visitors to the library have mostly been London based. So we've found that our visitors are local, repeat visitors, and we've seen, like everybody, a huge reduction in international visitors, which is to be expected. Thank you.
So thank you for inviting me to be here, and I'm going to talk a bit about how we solved COVID in one of our recent exhibitions. So I work in a place that's called the Black Diamond in Copenhagen, which is the cultural house of the Royal Danish Library. We have, besides reading rooms and library facilities, we also host events and concerts and talks, and we have big exhibition spaces where we have a number of exhibitions each year. And throughout the years where I have been working here, we have had a number of collaborations with international artists to explore how to make exhibitions with archive material sensuous, and how to create a different encounter between the visitor and these items on display that are normally in our collections a bit challenged, because they are often books or pieces of papers that needs a bit of help to unfold themselves. So we had been working with Robert Wilson, with Hotel Proforma, with Russian artist Andrei Bartenov, and our last collaboration was with Marina Abramovich that made our recent Treasure exhibition. And then in the beginning of 2020, we were about to open our next big artist collaboration with Australian musician and author Nick Cave. And just before COVID, it looked like
you are born and you build yourself piece by piece. You construct a narrative, you become an individual, surrounding yourself with all that you love. And you stand before the world and say, I am here, and this is who I am.
The first thing I noticed about Wangaratta was
this was just 4 days before COVID closed down the entire Denmark. And we had the exhibition with Nikkei was a very big and large-scale installation-based exhibition where the sort of the sensuous experience of the exhibition was a big part of what Nick wanted to do. And then we had to figure out how to meet the COVID restrictions and still ensure this this idea of the exhibition and the narrative that he had created. So basically we were looking into how could we meet the restriction in the most invisible way possible. So we did a number of things to ensure that. Luckily from the beginning, the exhibition was already laid out as an exhibition where you had to book a time slot. So we could control very easily how many visitors we let into the exhibition. And we decided to invite in half of the visitors that we were actually allowed, that meaning that we were inviting in fewer visitors than we were actually allowed to, even with the COVID restrictions. So that was the first thing we did. Then instead of, it would have been a problem for us to work with sort of visual statements in the space because the exhibition consists of these large-scale installations. So instead of doing that, we ensured a number of exhibition hosts in the exhibition that would ensure the visitors' flow and make sure that there was not sort of a gathering up of people in any of the spaces. And luckily, and this was pure luck, we only had a few elements in the exhibition where touch was necessary, and they were not sort of very important elements. So we decided to keep it. That was headphones. These were made so they could be sanitized, and we also ensured that there was sanitizer available in every room where these headphones was available. So we ended up actually creating exactly the exhibition as we planned already, and without sort of the COVID restrictions having an impact of the experience of the exhibition. So everything is as it's thought out, and mainly the only thing that moved into our spaces was these small hand sanitizers. And right now we have had, I mean, the amount of visitors that have been there have been really good, and people have been very happy with coming. No, we haven't had any complaints for people feeling that they couldn't visit the exhibition safely. We have now a new situation that we're looking to see that starts from today, where you're now asked to wear masks in public institutions, including exhibitions. And we assume that that will have some kind of impact on the exhibition, because we learned that the visitors, especially the Nikkei fans, spends a lot of hours in the exhibition, often more than 3 hours, and having to wear a mask for that amount of time might be that they are going to shorten their visit, but that is still to be learned.